Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Now, as some of you may know, I talked about Cory Barker, who is an upcoming filmmaker who recently had not his directorial debut, but his theatrical debut with Obsession. In that video, I talked about a lot of his shorts, his full-length movie he did called Milk and Cereal, and I think I didn't do a half-bad job talking about it. But today we're going to be looking at just Obsession, which I was able to see the Thursday it came out, because, fun fact, a lot of movie theaters, you'll actually get to see them a day before they come out, which is pretty neat. Just a kind of viewer discretion, I will be talking about the messed up themes and things that happen in this film. There's going to be a non-spoiler section, and then there's going to be a full spoiler section, so I will let you guys know before I get into the spoilers. Be made aware that, if you want to go see the movie, which I do highly recommend, there's a certain stopping point throughout the video that you can just stop, go see the movie, and, come back if you want to. Obsession, which keeps showing me it's a 2025, but it did release, I believe it was May 15th, stars Michael Johnson, India Navarrete, who I'm horrifically mispronouncing her last name, and Cooper Tomlinson, is, in my opinion, a fantastic entry into not only the modern horror zeitgeist, if you will, but also probably a top 3 YouTuber horror movie. As I've talked about plethora of them on this channel, which I should probably make a playlist where I just talk about all of them, this one I would say is comfortably in between Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, which one of these days I will do an official ranking of all the YouTuber horror films. Not to get into any spoilers with this section, I just overall think it's fantastic. There wasn't really any slow parts. I wasn't bored with the film. I was on the edge of my seat, and I mean that like as a dude who will watch messed up movies all the time. Hell, I even have a second channel where I just talk about messed up movies. A lot of the acting is great, especially from the main 3. Cooper Tomlinson, who is not only a major aspect of the YouTube channel, but has also been acting in a lot of those shorts, gives a phenomenal performance as sort of this best friend who's struggling to see what's happening to his current best friend. And Michael Johnson as Bear, aka our main character, is just fantastic. As I mentioned in my other video, Cory Barker was able to sort of put you in the same seat as the main character in a lot of his short films and his directorial debut, Milk and Cereal, and he does not stop. One worry I had seeing this movie is not only was it a Blumhouse film, which if you've seen my 2025 horror movie ranking video, I didn't really like a lot of Blumhouse's stuff, but I also had the worry that once he got like a big budget through them, or this big shot, he may have forgotten what really made his stuff special, and he didn't. I was literally on the edge of my seat because it's just like, wow, he is just only getting better. He didn't forget, the sort of niche elements that made him who he is. He just improved upon them and did them in such a fantastic way. He'll use a lot of shadows with characters, such as when another character's talking, he's fully in the light, but another person will just be captivated in shadows and sort of gives you this uneasy feel. A lot of his scenes will kind of seem like one takes, where it intentionally just keeps a hold on the character to keep you in the moment, not a lot of fast cuts. Even in the intense horror scenes, they are still just long, unbroken cuts to just keep your mind where it is. I will say this, I kind of expected the ending, and yet I didn't at the same time. Like, you could feel the beats throughout the film, but he does something truly interesting with it. And that's all I'll say for the spoiler-free section, because I really do recommend you go see this movie, because it is fantastic. I fully plan on getting the soundtrack on vinyl or CD when it comes out, because it's also dope. Also, they were selling the One Wish Willows on their website, but they instantly sold out. This movie has become, in my opinion, such a phenomenon, because this is one of the only movies where I've seen the rating actually increase drastically. When I initially saw it, it was like, oh, it's a 7.7 on IMDb, and now it's risen to an 8.2. And really, just go see it in theaters. It's fantastic. Getting into the spoiler section, overall, I would say the film is thoroughly messed up. Not to get too deep into the actual plot, because like I said, go see it. This is kind of a modern retelling of A Monkey's Paw, where the monkey's paw had like 4 or 5 wishes that you can be able to wish with them having terrible consequences. Either it'll be a very literal wish or he'll have a twisted meaning with it. And it's very similar with this, because our main character Bear, as he's trying to date or trying to confess his feeling to his, I assume, lifelong best friend Nikki, ends up buying a One Wish Willow that he makes a wish of her to be, either he says the word obsess or he says just love him. He snaps it, and then instantly she becomes fully infatuated and obsessed with him, to the degree where there's multiple scenes where she will want to constantly captivate his attention, constantly call and text him, just stare at him while he's talking to other people. And it gets even worse throughout the rest of the film, such as another scene where you see him leave for the day and she is at home and she just stands in place as she relieves her bowels, and it's implied that she stood there in that same spot for like 12 hours straight. Other example of this is even when he talks to a fellow friend named Nikki, who justice for my girl Nikki, she's fantastic, great actress, great character. She, I believe, either bashes just a brick into her face or she smashes a wine bottle and stabs herself in the head multiple times. Like I said, it's a modern retelling of A Monkey's Paw, and I think it does it in such a great way. There's even like some very very much dark comedy throughout the film. Like, near the very end, he's trying to inform his friend Ian, played by Cooper Tomlinson, that the wish is real and he has to try to wish to make this all undone. Of course, Ian doesn't believe that. In this very comedic, very punchy scene, he's just like, please make this wish. He just snaps and says, I want $1 billion. And he gets it. He just gets $1 billion. But then the next scene when he's talking to him about it, he gets shot in the head. The actual gore in this film, I think, is fantastic. It is very minimal, but pretty damn good. Like, at one point, Sarah, after her and Bear talk for some time and she reveals that she got a letter from the final college to accept her into the art program, is then sprinted on by a, of course, possessed Nikki, and Nikki bashes her face in so much with a brick, it looks like someone chucked a lasagna against the wall, to which then you get to see more of her corpse later after they attempt to get rid of the body, but then Nikki just keeps in there. They don't really need to fully explain what happens to her. It's kind of implied. At least with my theory is, once he made the wish, a sort of demon and or entity took over Nikki's body and made her do, be obsessed with Bear. Because there's some points throughout where she will snap back to reality and just be like, oh, what the hell is going on, just for a split second. And in a later scene when he's leaving to talk to, I believe it's either Ian or Sarah, Nikki, the actual Nikki on the inside, has a full-fledged conversation with him, basically telling him to kill her. Because like I said, it's just kind of double taking over her life and being the Nikki that Bear wants her to be, not the actual Nikki. And a lot of people are saying Bear did nothing wrong, which Bear did. He did. It's found out later in the film that the only way to stop the wish is, and it's not this isn't one of the answers, but it's one of them that they conclude could possibly stop it, is have someone else wish for your wish to get contradicted, or do something that makes it contradict itself, or you game end yourself. To which that is what happens to Bear later on after a myriad decisions. But it also comes after multiple people are dead, or severe bodily injury has occurred to both Bear and Nikki. Like I said, there's a lot of great shots throughout this film, especially the one that they use for, I believe it's the current poster, where it's him in the bathtub, which actually happens near the end of the film, and I believe happens the last 10 minutes of it. Of the color grading throughout, there's a lot of great scenes where they just hold on it to give you, once again, that sort of suspense / awkwardness or discomfort is the best way I can describe it. And overall, I would say this is just a fantastic film. A few disturbing scenes, which I might just talk about more of the disturbing stuff on the second channel if I decide to make a video about it. There's at one point where his cat dies at the beginning of the movie, and he's just like, oh, my cat's dead and stuff, and he's upset about it, and he tells Nikki about it. Possessed Nikki decides to then make a memorial of his cat using his cat's body, and he's just like, no, get rid of it. To which then she packs him lunch to take to work, and there's this recurring joke where he's like, oh, I'm a food critic, or something along that line, a little couples joke. She made him a sandwich, and he's like, for my little food critic. He eats the sandwich, and then Sarah, as they're having this conversation and stuff, looks at the back of it. It's just I think it says, I want to say, thoughts on cat, or cat for your thoughts. And it is then revealed that she made his sandwich with his dead cat. And the funniest thing is, I'm not joking with you, when he had the sandwich, I, no joke, whispered to my buddy, pussy sandwich, because I was like, that's a fucked up thing that can happen. And then when that happened, I literally screamed, no fucking way. And this is not me trying to glaze the film too much, it is just everything I would want from a scary movie. The only thing is it could be a bit gorier, but I feel like that would take away from the film. And this kind of redeemed Blumhouse for me just a tad. Just a little bit, not too much. They still gotta get back in my good graces, but they did a damn good job. I hope to see some rewards for this, hopefully Fangoria Chainsaw, or maybe the Dead Meat Horror Wars for 2027. This is just overall fantastic as hell. I highly recommend it. I gave this a 4 out of 5, aka an 8 out of 10. If I rewatch it, I might change it. Literally, as I'm looking at the IMDb, it updated from 9,000 reviews to 10,000 reviews. Do what they did and go see the movie. But anyway, y'all have a good day, good night, good minute, good midnight. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure not to die. Bye-bye.